everyone. I'm Leslie Cornwell, certified nurse midwife with Empowering Midwifery Education. I have Janet Spinner here with me. It's so fun how the universe just kind of brings things. She thought she was talking to a student, didn't realize that she signed up for an interview, but just a little bit before I hit record, I was beyond she's got a very impressive story. So, Janet, thank you for joining me today.
Hi, I'm glad to speak with you and to share with you some of my journey into nurse midwifery. I lived on the farm during my younger adult years and was part of their health crew there and would take care of things like pneumonias and flus and lacerations and just the general healthcare well-being of the families. I would go to women's homes, especially if we were concerned about the well-being of the children in that home, and teach mothers how to do things like, how do you wash your child?
Yeah.
How do you keep your clothes clean? Because not everybody that came from the farm was from the same kind of socioeconomic background, and we took care of each other, and we all learned. On the farm, there were community meetings that happened every Sunday. It was after a service with Stephen Gaskin and Ina May. It was a sunrise service, and with an home afterwards, and we all got to know each other there, as well as in the community. There were 1,500 people living there at its height. Now it's down to about 500 people, but it's in Summertown, Tennessee, a very rural area. The last time I was down there, I was impressed with how it had evolved, because when I lived there initially, I lived in the woman's tent, and that was an old army tent. And there were 15 women living together there. We shared mattresses with each other. And when you became a couple, you got to live in your own small tent. And eventually people were building houses and the like, but we all ate at a central kitchen. And eventually it evolved past that. During those years, after my husband and I became a real couple and married, he and I went to a place called the Bronx Center, which was a spinoff of something called Plenty. Have you ever heard of Plenty? No. Plenty was the relief work project, and that project, there were projects in Guatemala, there was a project in Bangladesh. This was in the South Bronx, and I don't know whether you're familiar with the history of the South Bronx, but those were the years when the Bronx was literally burning. And there were a lot of fires happening a lot of the time. And the ambulance response time for things like a cardiac arrest or a gunshot wound were like 15 to 20 minutes. So there were several of us that were paramedics at the time. And we started up what was called the Bronx Center. Initially, it was also a birthing center, which is how I ended up going there. I went there to have my baby and did indeed have my daughter in 1978 in the South Bronx. And the window was open. It was a warm winter day, very warm winter day for December. And we could hear ambulances and fire trucks going by and people talking below. And when I was pushing, I remember well, our neighbors, a bunch of women, were hanging in the window and cheering me on to push harder.
Oh, well, just to think of going from living on the farm to going to living in the Bronx, like you're an adaptable woman. I could just tell already to be, I mean, those are pretty extreme
Well,
settings. Yeah.